And that might be what we're doing. We're like the cavemen that we are in DPoS, right? Let's have no doubt that we might just be moving the first rock away from underneath the barn into the house.
I just hear a bunch of cave people like with coin voting, burning everything down. Fire bad, fire doesn't exist, fire bad, and then it's like, no, guys, this is how you use it. And they're like, oh, fire good.
Uga Chaka intensifies.
That's it. Yeah, that's basically where we're at, guys. That's basically where we're at. Right. Bytemaster's been making some noises, man, the last couple of weeks. He's repercolated his interest in DPoS and Hive and the ecosystem, so it's good to see him around. So Dan Larimer at Bytemaster7 says, the future of DGov is not token-weighted voting. DAOs that rely on token-weighted voting are fundamentally broken unless they are governed by a small group of majority token holders. Therefore, vote buying is inevitable in decentralized token distributions. Time to go fractally.
I actually invited him on because I completely disagree with. I could not disagree with this anymore. Even the way he put it, he says you have to have a small group run it or it's broken. It's like that's the worst way to put it. That's what you're trying to avoid. You need good token distribution. But the one thing about Dan Larimer was, BitShares was sort of. But they had too many block producers, so they got Sybil attacked, right? Who know, if you have 100, you have to vote on. It's easy to have 2 or 3 of the same. And then he went on to the Ninja mine with Steem, and then he went on to a pre-mine with EOS with no long lockup, so exchanges ran the token. He never gave DPoS voting a chance. And then Hive were doing it correct, in my opinion, and it's like, look at what we're doing on Hive before you start saying it doesn't work, because you created something. But one of the maturity checks on an invention or a creation of an idea is when it surpasses the founder. Then you have something real. And,
right.
And that's what I love about this, because here we have, really the creator of DPoS coin voting, proof of stake, you could say, came out before, but the really voting in terms of having a top 20 and all that. Misunderstanding his invention, I believe, and I would love to talk to him and have him change my mind. I think there's like a 95% chance it doesn't happen, but I'm hopeful for the 5%. But yeah, he has to understand. And what I understand from the DAO he created was, you have an invite system. So it's like, oh, well, the only way to get into this DAO is you have to be invited by members who are already inside the DAO. It's like, okay, well, that means it has to start centralized. You have to start with one person who invites their buddy, and then that person invites their buddy, and then it sounds like you're inviting like an initial camp of buddies, and then they kind of like pick who gets in. It's like, that does not sound like the future of Web3 to me. Like, I know coin voting has its ugliness, just like every single thing in the world is going to have a negative. Trying to find this perfect thing doesn't work. It sounds good in theory, but the practice is always going to break it. But in practice, coin voting works, period. It works well, and we've proven it. So,
yeah, the other thing here as well is, like, this reminds me of the free speech discussion on Hive at the moment, where there's certain factions of the community saying that Hive is a censorship mechanism, which, yes, okay, you're being censored on some platforms, but if we work together and build this shit out, Hive has got the foundation that you need to have pure free speech. You're never going to lose your account. You can build various different trending algorithms that are going to give you free speech that won't be able to be censored as easily or at all. And it's like the same thing here. It's like, well, yeah, the rudimentary governance model that's set up, that runs on Hive at the moment, it's 5 years old. I mean, it's a baby. As time goes on, we're going to have all sorts of different ways to vote, different weightings, different models tried out, different experiments tried and failed and tested and succeeded. And the point is that the base layer is there to do this on. The point is not that whether it works or not straight away. It's that we have the base technology to run these experiments on, and we know that they work, and we've proven that they work. Whether they give the results that are best for the community or not is of question, depending on what type of voting you're doing, how important the vote is, all this type of stuff. Whether you have a one account, one vote system, or a one token, one vote system, or a combination of the two, or a slightly more weighted to one side than the other. These are all models that are going to be tried out as we progress forward in the future. And so to write it off in this way, I believe is premature. It's premature, and I don't understand why, unless there's some kind of motive to write it off and try to move people away from it. I'm here to try to test these different voting mechanisms and build them out.
It's like trying to write off an element. Like, you don't believe in fire.
Right,
like,
right.
You have governance systems, right? Satoshi invented some crazy, like, it's almost thinking, okay, you have to create a universe, but you can't use anything from this universe. And that's mind fuck, right? Well, it's the same thing.
Yes.
It's like, well, how do you come to consensus without voting? That's a fucking weird thing to think of. And Satoshi did it. It's still voting, right? You vote with your hash, but it's not coin voting, and it's novel, and it's a really crazy idea that, kudos, amazing. And then you have coin voting, which is like the ham and cheese. It's just the obvious. It's what humans have been doing for as long as we've been around, right? We vote, and it just became fucked up recently because, voting isn't really for the people anymore. It's all weird and politics. Oh, I'm not going down that route, but the point is, as long as you don't have that centralizing entity, voting is actually incredibly powerful. And then it's like, okay, well, you're going to create something else. It's like, okay, let's hear this universe that has nothing else that we're utilizing. How else are you going to do it? I don't like the way he's discussed it. I'm always open. Like Vitalik says, we got to get rid of coin voting. It's like, dude, I am licking at the chomps to hear what you have to say, because I am definitely all ears to hear of these new governance systems and how they would work. I just can't, my mind, I try to think of another one, and there's just so many attack vectors in practice that I just can't think of another one. So it's like, it's like, oh man, coin voting, I'm a coin voting maximus. Like that's stupid. I just believe that it works, and I'm not in denial of what practice, what happens in practice. So.
Yeah, I also think there's a lot of experimentation to be done. I think there's a lot of different weighted models to try that haven't been tried yet. And to write it off this early, like you say, I like the comparison. It's like writing off fire. No, it exists. It's out there. You got to place the rocks in a certain way around the fire to make it to make it heat optimally.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you got to take that fire. You got to put it into machines later on and turn it into steam and drive turbo. All this type of shit, right? That's where it goes.
And your fireplace, it works. And your living room floor, it doesn't work. So you just have to utilize it correctly.
Right. Underneath your hay roof barn, it doesn't work. Yeah,
exactly. That's the equivalent of a pre-mine. So yeah,
and that might be what we're doing. We're like the cavemen that we are in DPoS, right? Let's have no doubt that we might just be moving the first rock away from underneath the barn into the house.
I just hear a bunch of cave people like with coin voting, burning everything down. Fire bad. Fire doesn't exist. Fire bad. And then it's like, no, guys, this is how you use it. And they're like, oh, fire good.
Uga Chaka intensifies.
That's it. Yeah, that's basically where we're at, guys. That's basically where we're at, right?